Money today, right here on Heart to Heart. And if you're a hustler, this is for you. We are now going to be ministering to you. So it's a side hustle, a soul. Okay. I think it's one thing, but you can correct me. A side hustle. I am the owner. I started the business. I'm alone in it, so I'm a sole propri. What?
Proprietor.
Yes.
Yeah.
How do you say it again?
Proprietor.
Proprietor.
Yeah.
Pero na re re proprietor. Yeah.
It's a tongue
Proprietor.
twister. I struggle sometimes as well.
So we're talking about that proprietorship as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Are they different or is it one thing?
No, they're actually not different. It's just that we have different lingos for it. Or maybe let me put it this way. Under the sole proprietorship, there's different definitions within it. Some people will say, I've got a side hustle. Others will say, I'm a freelancer. Others would just say,
So freelancing falls under that.
falls under that as well. So it's just literally a different element. Remember, freelancer, you're literally providing services to different clients under your name, right? So sole proprietorship, it's a business. You are operating a business under your name, right? So you can say, I've got a side hustle where I am doing events, right? But I don't have a separate company operating that. It's under my name. So you call it a side hustle. Some will call it a gig. Others will call it freelancing, but all of those fall under sole proprietorship simply because all of those are being done or conducted under you as a person, not a separate company.
All right. So, but like others are using company names. So what's the difference if I'm registered as a company? I'm a freelancer. I do my side hustle. I'm not using my name personally. I'm
Yeah.
using Prosper, whatever name.
Yeah. So some people use a business name, right? But if it is not registered under CIPC, then it's not a company legally in South Africa. So, for example, let's say I'm a freelancer, but I don't want to register a separate company, and I don't want to say Patricia Coleman is offering this service, and I give it a name, let's say Trisha's Delight, for example. But then Trisha's Delight has not been registered as a company.
Right.
So even though there's the name Trisha's Delight, for the mere fact that there hasn't been any registration of a company legally, it's still sole proprietorship. I'm just using that name to be able to identify the type of income that or services that I'm providing. But it's still under Patricia's name because I haven't separated it by, registering a company. If I
Okay.
register a company,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm doing freelancing, technically then that means I'm providing services, and now for tax terminology, that would now be considered as a personal service provider. So you're a business, but you're a personal service provider business. Same as freelancing, the difference is now you have registered a company via CIPC. But then because you have registered a company via CIPC, SARS still sees you as the person who's conducting freelancing. Most probably you have one main client who provides your income, right?
Yeah.
And and because of those, they look at all those elements. And even though you are considered as a company in terms of Companies Act, for SARS purposes, then that will be considered as a personal service provider. And of course, as usual with tax, there's also other elements to look into for you to fully be defined as a personal service provider.
All right. So what makes you a Jesus help my tongue proprietor? Proprietor. What makes you that? Does having a side hustle make you automatically a sole proprietor?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So to all our and I mean this time in our generation, we all believe that we need to have more than one source of income.
Yeah.
So we've got
Yeah.
side hustles, right?
Yeah.
I will have an event company. I'll do graphic design on the side. I'll do accounting services on the side. Meanwhile, I've got the company that I work for, correct? But then now the reality is all of these things that you're doing on the side, it is a business.
All right.
It might not be a company, but it's a business. What is a business? It's when you're providing a service or you're selling products for the purpose of you to generate some sort of income. That's what you're doing. So because of that, then automatically, yes, you do fall under sole proprietorship. But remember, sole proprietorship, it's not, how can I put it? It's not a separate registration when it comes to tax. So SARS does not see you separately from the business that you're doing. Everything will fall under your tax return.
So everything will fall under your tax return personally.
Personally.
So when do you pay tax? Or when
That's
are
a
you
good-
expected to pay tax as a sole proprietor?
Yes, that's a very good question. Before I even answer that, let me give an example. Option scenario number 1, right? There's Sbongile. She works for Radio Pulpit, and that's it. The only thing that you get as income is your remuneration, right? Therefore, you are required to submit a tax return annually when the tax season is open. Okay. Right. So it's simple because, they know that, okay, fine, she receives this remuneration from the company. The company deducts pay as you earn from her salary. So on a monthly basis, a portion of tax is already being paid on your behalf. And then when the tax season is opened, you are required or you're expected to submit a tax return. And that's when you declare everything, your remuneration, if you have any other income, right? So then that's done. It's once. Let's say Sbongile, working for Radio Pulpit, doing events, emceeing somewhere. Now you're generating different types of income. So because you're now generating different types of income, SARS require you to submit what we call provisional tax returns as well. And the provisional tax returns, you submit them twice a year, right? Because you're an individual, your tax year or the year of assessment is the same with being February year end. So meaning that with the provisional tax, you submit one in August biannually, so the first 6 months, right? And then you submit the next one in February. So for that financial period, so let's give an example. We're starting on the 1st of March 2023, ending on the 28th of 29th, since the leap year this year, 29th of February 2024, right? Within this period, you should have submitted 2 provisional tax returns. And based on that, you are making payments of taxes, right? Within those 2 submissions. Then, when the tax season opens, you are still required for you to submit an annual income tax. So you're actually submitting tax returns at a minimum of 3 times. And I'm saying minimum because should you have submitted your second provisional tax return and you see somehow that my calculation wasn't really correct and actually sounds more than what I thought, you have an opportunity to submit another provisional tax, what we call a top-up, in September. So minimum 3 times a year, maximum 4 times a year. And maybe also just to add on that, back to freelancing, right? So what most freelancers do, which is actually recommended by the Act itself, is that the companies that you're freelancing to, your clients, when they actually give you the invoice or when they pay you, they withhold 25%. And that 25% they pay to SARS. So that's just to simplify things so that when you're now paying your taxes, you are not stranded with this huge lump sum and now you can't pay because then you've been receiving the money. It's been great. You've been enjoying yourself, soft life. And then now it's time for you to submit the tax returns and your provisional taxes. You don't have any money. So because of that, then they withhold 25%, just like pay as you earn, but then for the freelancer.
All right. So we're talking individual here.
Individuals.
Not even registered with
Not even.
So does it matter how much you're making to pay the tax?
Yes.
How much?
If you are earning taxable return of 97,000 Rand or less, and you're at the age of 65 or less, right? You don't have to submit a tax return simply because then that amount is what we call the tax threshold and it's exempt from tax. There's no taxes that you're going to pay on that portion, right? Anything above that, you do have to submit.
Mention the age again.
Under the age of 65. So 97,000 under the age of 65.
From the extra income.
Your total
Your
income.
total.
Total
So
income.
let me ask this question then. What if your company deducts that 25, and then you get your IRP 5s, and then you still have a side hustle. So how does it work now? Because you have a side hustle that doesn't even get to 70 whatever thousand at the end of the year, but little droplets there and there.
Yeah.
And then your company gives you an IRP 5 that you're going to submit. So how does it work with a side hustle? Do we go back to the drawing board again to say, okay, now you're working, this is IRP 5 from your work, and how does it work?
So when we talk about taxable income, it's the accumulation of all your income.
Alles.
Your remuneration. So the example that you've given, right? So we would say remuneration plus your freelancing plus your side hustle. You deduct all the expenses that you need to deduct. How much do you have left, right? That amount, if it's less than 95,000, then you don't have to submit a tax return. If it's more than 95,000, then you have to submit a tax return. But it's all your income. So because it's an individual, we're not looking at it, we're not separating the side hustle from you. Since you did not register a company separately. According to SARS, you're one person. You just have different types of income. So they'll literally add everything up. When everything is added, how much is that? And based on that, should you submit a tax return or not? So we're not going to say, okay, fine, Sibongile earns R1 million, for example, from Radio Pulpit, and she earns 70,000. So on the 70,000, she doesn't have to include it because it's less. It's not, because you've got R1,070,000.
Alice should be added.
Alice.
So I've seen a lot of people going to SARS to do that.
Yeah.
The accounting and everything during that season.
Yes.
Tax return season.
Yeah.
So what? Do we advise a sole oh, Jesus, help me. A side hustler.
Side hustler?
No. A side hustler to formalize their business and register with CIPC?
So... my favorite phrase.
Is it much?
It's not automatic.
But is it advisable? Is it much better if it's that way? Or you can still continue with your name?
It's not automatic.
Okay.
I'll give you... and the reason why I'm saying this is, remember last time when we were talking about businesses, right? One thing that I mentioned was you always have to look at the holistic view of the business that you're conducting. So with the same principle, you as an individual, you also have to now look at the holistic view, right? For individuals, there's tax brackets. There's different tax brackets. Others are taxed at 18%. Others are taxed at 45%, depending on how much you're earning. For a company...
others at 25.
Others are 25, 39, right? And then for a company, it's a flat rate of 27%, sorry. A flat rate of 27%. So now let's say your taxable income, when you add everything together, if it was under your personal name, it was going to be taxed at 18%. Then rather keep the sole proprietorship the way it is. So leave everything in your name, because then it makes more financial or tax sense. You're saving money because now you are selecting 18% over 27% taxes, right? So that's one thing that you'd have to consider. The second thing that you'd have to consider is the kind of clientele that you're trying to actually now get. Do they feel comfortable with operating with you as a sole proprietor? Or would it be more beneficial for you if it's actually a registered company? Will you get more clients that way? If you know you'll get more clients that way, then it's better for you to actually register as a company. So you have to look at all of those factors, right? Which one is it beneficial? The administration element of it. Because remember, once again, when you register as a company, there's all of those commitments. You are now married until death do you apart, which is the deregistration, that you have to adhere to, which don't apply when you are a sole proprietor, right? Then again, if you're a company, everything that falls within a company, it's a separate person. So in terms of now liability, there's a separation between you and that company. If a property is in a company's name versus a property in your name, in terms of liability, should someone want to repossess it, they can't repossess in the company just like that because it does not belong to you. However, in your name, it's a different ballgame. So you have to look at all of those factors in order for you then to make that decision.
There's also a famous question, like your famous phrase. It's not automatic. Let's take a break, but that question is all about pensioners. You know the
Yes.
question. So here is a pensioner who earns from GEPF
Yeah.
or from, I don't want to mention,
Yeah.
but your financial
Yeah.
institutions and stuff. Every month they're earning, and it's text.
Okay.
It's from their pension, I get.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's taxed every month. And they benefit, but GEPF, they also benefit when the teachers get a raise, they also get a raise. And then now I decide, as I have retired and I'm earning this, I
Yeah.
want a side hustle.
Yes.
So how does it work for me as a pensioner in that bracket? But let's take a break and then come back to talk to you some more. And family, the lines are open for you. 012-334-1322. You can talk to us. You can ask your questions on 012-334-1322. Alternatively, you can send us an SMS. I nearly said an email. An SMS on 37871. Kisa guy as email.
It is.
No, not in studio. When they're sending it to you directly. Perfect. So 37871 is our SMS line. 37871 is our SMS line. 082-657-2729 is our WhatsApp Telegram line. 082-657-2729. Our studio line 012-334-1322. You can ask your questions. You can send your even voice notes, and we are also streaming live on Facebook. Let's take the sounds of Pastor Gege Popolo, and the song is Holy Praise Mackley. We're coming back.
Sibongile Mofokeng on Radio Pulpit. Heart to heart.
I'm not sure if my queen has got moves because she didn't want to show me her moves. She's such a lady. She's like,
Come Sunday.
oh, it's Sunday every day. Sunday
You're
should be every day.
You're right. You're right.
Those were awesome sounds from KK and the song Holy Praise Madly right here on Heart to Heart with me, Sibongile Mofokeng, with you up until 3 o'clock. And we are with our tax specialist talking to Sis Patricia Komani. We're talking about hustling, a side hustle and tax today. And so the lines are open for family to can talk to us. You can ask your questions on 01233411322. Alternatively, you can send us a WhatsApp on 0826572729 or an SMS at 37871 37871. I just love the brain, you know. Today and most of the times people are like, you're too fast. So one needs to bring back the brain because the brain is running. The
Right.
numbers are coming like that, no? One of the great computers. So let me slow down. Let me slow down the computer. The numbers to dial 012 334 1322 and the WhatsApp line 082 657 2729. The SMS line 37871. I see Cookie, our queen, saying, blessed, beautiful afternoon to you, my dear queen, sending lots of hugs and love. And I am looking forward to an awesome program. Thank you. Enjoying this lovely worship medley. Yeah, thank you so much, my queen, for joining in and being with us. And I see Clem Slubber. And Clem says, wow, this is so interesting and learn some. Thank you for the program. Yeah, thanks to our tech specialist who is here educating us on these. Some of us just enjoy the hustle and you just enjoy the fruits that come with it, not knowing that you have to give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. And Caesar is more, okay, Caesar is, yeah, Caesar
Caesar, Caesar.
Caesar is Caesar. And give to God what needs to be given to God. Thank you for the love, my queen, Cookie, Stephen. And yeah, my queen, I asked a question about somebody who's on pension, earning every month from... Okay, the financial institutions are running in my head. Let me not mention. But we have those from government, GEPF.
Yeah.
They are also earning and they get a raise when it's time for a raise. And now they start a side hustle as well. So when it comes to them, should they be registering with the CIPC? Should they also be paying tax? Are they expected to be paying tax? I mean, I've spoken to some of our elderlies who are saying, Pelana, I'm 65.
I've paid tax my
No, I'm 70. Bongi, I'm 70. I shouldn't be paying. Even asking some of these institutions that they are registered with for other things to say, and they honor that in some places. I mean, our bus, the Tshwane bus services, they honor their age from 61 years old. The money is low, or you don't even pay as long as there's something in your card. So how does it work when it comes to them?
Okay, so let's go back, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to taxes, there is a separation in terms of pensioners and the rest of us who are below the age of 65. Okay, so if we go back to the threshold, remember I mentioned that for those under the age of 65, if your income is 95,000 Rand, then you don't have to submit a tax return.
Right.
So for pensioners, then it increases. If your income or your taxable income is above 147,000 Rand, then you don't have to pay. You don't have to submit a tax return, right? With that being said, the principle remains the same. So let's say they are receiving this portion from their retirement, their annuities now, because they have now retired and they're enjoying their retirement annuity.
But what's funny is that they are also taxed. They don't get the whole shebang.
They don't get the whole shebang if the amount that they're earning exceeds a specific tax bracket. Okay. So even with that, there's specific tax brackets where if you earn, I just don't remember the tax amount, so I'm not going to put the figures, but if you earn a specific amount, you are not taxed on your pension.
Okay.
If you earn more exceeding that tax bracket, then there's a tax element. So yes, they are taxed on that, but remember, with the same principle as somebody who is an employee, you are taxed, and then that tax amount is recognized or recorded on your tax return. So whatever you owe when you do your calculation, the fact that you've paid a specific amount of tax will be deducted. So they acknowledge of saying, okay, fine, we have an example. We have a total income of 100,000 Rand, right? On that 100,000 Rand, so your employer has been deducting a total amount of 12,000 Rand. You are now submitting your tax return, and then on the tax return, it shows that you actually owe SARS, or the taxes that you're supposed to pay is 13,000 Rand. But because there's that 12,000 Rand that you've been paying throughout the year, you'll only pay 1,000 Rand. So that principle also applies with the pensioner. They're receiving their annuity. If there's a tax element on it, it has already been deducted, right? When now all the calculation has been done with the side hustle included, how much is the total tax? If the total tax is more than what the actual tax has been paid already, then they pay the balance. If it's less, then they get a refund. But in order for us to say that the pensioner has to submit tax return or not, it depends on the total amount that they're making when you bring in the side hustle. Is it more than 147,000 Rand? If it's more than 147,000 Rand, then unfortunately, yes, even the pensioner has to submit the return. But as I mentioned, so that's one of the benefits, right?
Okay,
The tax threshold,
Yeah.
that is different. With us, it's 95,000. With them, it's 147,000. So there's like an increase, right? And then the second thing is what we call primary rebates. So primary rebates is SARS giving us some portion of money back, right? So the amount of tax you're supposed to pay is 20,000 Rand. You and I will have a primary tax rebate, which is about, I think, 17,000 Rand now. Then you subtract the 20,000 minus 17,000. The balance is what you pay as taxes. With pensioners, depending on the age, they've got primary rebate, they've got secondary rebate, they've got tertiary rebate. So when you add these three together, it reduces their taxes higher than it would have if it was just you and I. So they've got those benefits, but they do have to submit if it is above the threshold. Yes.
All right. So does an individual submit a separate tax for the business it runs in their name, or Zhuang? Because you said we calculate the whole. But now
Emphasis on whole.
Yeah, but here's my company, Africa, or my side hustle, Africa. So how does it work?
Yeah. So remember, the moment you say company, right? That means
Iphelele.
it's now registered.
Iphelele.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you now this one is your business, right? Because anything can be a business as long as you're providing a service or selling products. Yes, there's no separation between you and the side hustle.
Yeah.
Everything is on your tax return. On the tax return, there's usually questions. So they will ask you populated questions. Did you generate any other income other than your remuneration? You'll tick yes, right? Then they'll ask you, what kind of business is it? Then you'll stipulate, right? Then on the tax return itself, when you go down, then there'll be a section that has been populated because of those questions. And then that's where you would now complete or fill in the information of the side hustle. So it'll be your total income of the name of the side hustle, if you have given it a name. Right? Going back to the conversation we're having, saying that, okay, fine, I want it to have a name even though it's not legally registered. So I'll write Trisha's Delight there. The type of income, I'll select the type of income, accounting services. I'll put in the total income that I have generated. So I have made 100,000 Rand, I'll put 100,000 Rand. What are my expenses, right? My expenses would be Wi-Fi because I need to send emails and etc. etc. So data, I'll put that for the whole 12 months. I rent a room for my services. I put in rental. So all the expenses that I have now incurred for the purpose of my side hustle, I'll put that in, right? Then that will reduce what my taxable income is. That taxable income, or let's call it profit for the sake of simplifying things, right? And that profit plus whatever other your income is, add it together. That's what SARS is now going to look at.
All right. Greetings to Pastor Khomotomaga, all the way Koharangua, saying greetings. Calvary greetings, my dear sisters. I have tuned in. Thank you, Muruti. It's such an honor. You know, when I met Muruti, I was so excited.
Yeah.
She's always been with us. She's always been a family member, but meeting her in person has been like really awesome. So now some of us we just enjoy getting the money from our side hustle.
Yeah.
Those that we render services to, they just pay.
Yeah.
And if it's 7,000, they pay 7,000.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No 25,
Yeah.
whatever deducted. So no IRP 5s.
Yeah.
You will sort yourself out
Yeah.
with SARS.
Yeah.
So how does it work? You've been chowing, you've been enjoying, and you never paid.
Unfortunately, whether you've been chowing or not, the requirement still applies.
So what happens if you haven't?
What happens is
Because SARS has got the right to go into our banking.
SARS has the right to go into your banking.
Yeah.
SARS has more access to third-party information than what people think. So I'm sure many people have now realized when you're doing the FICA for banks, they'll ask, are you a South African tax resident, right? And we click yes. And then they'll ask, what is your tax number, right?
Yeah.
You put in your tax number. The reason why there's that information, there's a link between the bank and SARS, right? So meaning that should SARS believe that for whatever reason, there's more income that you're generating that you not provide, they can, I guess, through court and etc., get that information from the bank to actually see. This is how you find a scenario where somebody now all of a sudden
Yeah, because we ask ourselves
you
a question.
owe us.
Yeah, we ask ourselves the question, why do they wait?
Yeah.
Why didn't they come from the first time and said, Mara, Patricia, you owe us this much? Why were they quiet all along?
That's because, so if we think about it this way, everybody submits their tax returns to SARS, right? And SARS works on the basis of we are believing that you're being truthful. Because even on the tax return says, everything that I have included here, I'm being honest and it's truthful. So based on that, then they will say, okay, fine, everything that you've submitted, it's true.
Right.
We don't assume that you would have to hide anything. And because of that, they're not going to be looking at every single person's information.
Yeah.
That's going to take time. So that's how people then manage to get away for a certain period. But I guess something always pops up and then it's like, okay, fine, we actually need to investigate this
That's
person.
why they would withhold your funds and everything. And they're like,
Exactly.
we're still investigating.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So should you be then keeping accounting records and financial statements that whenever you do these? But doesn't the bank keep that?
No, it's not the bank's responsibility. Remember,
But they have on records what came in and out.
they have on
Okay.
record what came in terms of your bank statement,
All
right?
right. Yeah.
But apart from that, we always advise people to actually have that.
The invoices.
Invoices, yes, definitely, because SARS is going to need that as supporting documentation. But when it comes to the actual financial statements or something similar to that, because that helps you, one, to actually know the kind of profit that you're making, right? Two, it gives you an idea of how much taxes you will be paying. So that prepares you. And three, it simplifies things when SARS comes to you and say, we want supporting documentation. Now you don't have to run around. Remember, even though earlier I said SARS operates on the basis of we're not expecting you to lie, they still want evidence. They still want proof. So now if you come and say, I've made a loss of 100,000 Rand, and now it triggers a refund, they want proof that you actually have made a loss of that. So now if you don't have some sort of supporting documentations, SARS can reverse everything.
Yeah.
All right. So the financial statements, you having accounting records for your side hustle makes things easier. When SARS wants supporting documentation, you are able to provide that to them you are ready, because whatever you've submitted on the tax return is based on these financial statements, and that just simplifies things. Your financial statements don't have to be audited, because remember, you're a sole proprietor. You don't need to go to that extent. It's just for the purpose of having something solid where it's easy for you to prove should SARS request supporting documentation.
All right. Okay. I think now as we are closing, I didn't see time. Your time is not on our side. And I think in the coming talks, my queen,
Yes.
or in the coming talk, I would like for us to talk to those with children with special needs going to special schools, very expensive.
Yeah.
And apparently they can claim or they can get tax refunds and stuff. How does it work? How does one register? All of that. I think we can talk about that. But here's another scenario of somebody who's getting a grant.
Yes.
Be it you're taking care of you're a foster parent. You can be a foster parent, or there's a child who's dependent on you, things like that. So you are receiving a grant of some sort, but you have a side hustle. How does it work?
The grant is exempt. You don't
Yeah.
have to worry about that part.
So the grant doesn't exempt you.
No, the side,
Grant.
the side hustle is still a side hustle.
Receive a grant.
That's fine. You chose to start a side hustle, So
And some of us take the very same grant. Remember during COVID?
yeah,
There are those ones who started businesses from the very same grant that they were getting from the government.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. You might be
No.
getting the 350, you might be getting the 1,000 or the 2,000 or the 800, whatever amount your
Yeah.
grant. It doesn't exempt you from paying tax
it doesn't.
for your side
If
hustle.
you've got a side hustle, it does not exempt you from paying taxes. If your side hustle is above the whole 97,000 rand, right?
Yeah.
Because now your grant is exempt. So meaning that we're now not even looking at the grant to calculate how much have you made. So what we're looking at in this case is now literally just the side hustle. So if your and let me also go back. So you've got grant, which is exempt. You now started the side hustle with the grant money. What you're being taxed is on the profits. So they're saying that you're generating extra money from this. It is that money that we're looking at. And it's not only just the actual money that is coming in, it's the money less your income, less expenses, deductible expenses. The profit, or what we call taxable income, that is what will be taxed on. So whether you get a grant, you get donations, whatever other exempt income that you get, as long as that side hustle, and if you're younger than 65, it hits above the 95,000. If you're older than 65, it hits above the 147,000. You have to submit your tax return. And remember, you submitting your tax return does not necessarily mean that you will pay tax, because you might find that you actually are making loss, right?
Yeah.
So if you're making loss, then there's no taxes for you to pay. But you have to submit the tax return.
You have to submit the tax returns.
Yeah.
Okay, what do we say in closure for today's lessons? And family, I hope that you've been taking notes, and we're just going to do things right. I always say that we who are called by the name of our Lord Jesus Christ need to be exemplary to everyone.
Yeah.
We should be exempted from all wrongdoing. From
Nice.
all wrongdoing when it comes to paying Caesar and giving Caesar what belongs to Caesar and giving God what belongs to God. We should be really aware. Frank Jacobs, thank you so much. Greeting you, my queen, as well. And he says,
you.
good afternoon. Great program. Thank you so much, Frank. It's always an honor, Your Excellency. So what do we say in closure, my queen?
In closure, I would say for individuals or side hustlers, right? You need to know that, one, just because it's a side hustle and there's no legal registration of a company, it does not exempt it from being included in your tax calculation. At the same breath, know the expenses that you're actually incurring. Because what usually happens is because you're doing it as a side hustle, you don't consider all the expenses, and you ignore all the expenses, and you end up paying more taxes than what you should have if you actually kept record of your expenses. So know your expenses, keep record of them so that you don't pay unnecessary taxes, but do make sure that you submit the tax return with all the information that is required. Also, be aware that you will have to submit what we call provisional tax returns. Avoiding submitting those returns does trigger penalties. I consider penalties as donation to SARS, and SARS doesn't really need our donations. So let's just make sure that we submit those things on time to avoid any unnecessary penalties.
Sure. Any unnecessary. I love that.
Yeah.
They are unnecessary.
They're
So you shouldn't
unnecessary.
bring them to yourself.
No.
All right, my queen. Thank you so much for coming through to educate us on these. Family, I hope you took notes and to know that even with your side hustle, tax might be, it's not automatic. But it might be required depending on how much do you make. And for family members seeking more clarity, more advice, how do they get hold of you?
So they can send us a WhatsApp message on 082 652 5207, or they can email us at info@npkconsultancy.co.za and follow us on all social media. So we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn. Our name is the same, at NPK Consultancy.
Wait, do we call you? Do we send you WhatsApp? What's the best?
You can send us WhatsApp. If you feel comfortable in calling, you can call as well.
What is the best time to call?
Best time to call would be between 9 and 5:30.
In the morning and in the evening.
Yeah.
So after 5:30, please.
Yes.
You can send a WhatsApp and
You
we'll
can send a
respond
WhatsApp.
whenever we can.
Yes.
So it's 082 653
652.
Okay, it's 082 652
Yes.
5207.
Correct.
All right, it's 082 652 5207. Hey, little like a number. And you can check them or send them an email at info@npkconsultancy.co.za. They are on Instagram as at NPK Consultancy and Facebook.
Yes.
And where else?
LinkedIn.
as well. Even you have a site, a website.
We've got a website.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's npkconsultancy.co.za.
Correct.
Thank you so much, my queen. We love you. May the Lord keep keeping you. I know that we're going to spend a whole month before we see you again, but it is well. Thank you so much for coming and educating
Thank you so much for
us.
having us.
Yeah, family, let's make sure we pay our taxes. Kanako. And we are crossing over to the news with our news bulletin given to us by Newsflash News Agency.
Thapelo ya motho yo lokileng e na le maatla. Tswela pele go rapelela Radio Pulpit